Hi, travelers. Tara here, and obviously, it's so late in the month. I don't have time to do the 12 readings, so I'm going to bring you an open reading. Just to give you an update on what's been happening with me, the VA has been closed since January, right at the beginning of the COVID, and now they're reopened. So they have me booked for all of my appointments for the next 2 weeks. So this is mammogram, gynecology, labs, physical, podiatry. I've also got an update on the teeth. I went to see the oral surgeon and got them removed. I went, I want to say a week or so ago, to see the periodontist who's given me a 6 month course of treatment, which means I'm not going to be able to get my permanent teeth until after the course of treatment. But yet they've agreed to send me to a prosthodontist to get some temporary teeth for cosmetic purposes. So that's cool. And so that's going to be October, I want to say 2nd. Um, Additionally, I'm seeing an acupuncturist twice a week. Um, then, on top of that, my daughter has to get her wisdom teeth pulled plus get her ID. She's 16 now, she needs her Texas ID. And additionally, we are under the gun for another tropical storm slash hurricane here in the next couple of days. So I'm going to have to get outside and get the property prepared. I do have my hurricane shutters up. I took them down a little bit because it was making me crazy that I couldn't see outside. But now I've got to fully put them back up. So for the next couple of days, this is what I will be doing, and battening down the hatches and moving anything that could blow around, because we really don't know how the situation is going to go. It's kind of bizarre. All of 2020 thus far, and I can't believe we're already into the ninth month. We only have 3 months left to go before we're into 2021. But 2020 is one for the record books. You are living through history. And I was over visiting with my friend Priscilla yesterday. I hadn't seen her in quite a while. We were sitting outside in her garage, and she got a phone call. She lost 3 family members in the span of a week. And then we're sitting out there, and she goes, Ruth Bader Ginsburg just died. And I went, no, because I don't say prayers at night, but I have been praying every night since 2016 that old lady did not die before we went through the election. But I guess she just couldn't do it anymore. She'd been fighting pancreatic cancer since 2011. And I guess she just couldn't do it anymore, and that's understandable. And so this is a brand new element that has been introduced into the already chaotic situation that's going on around the election. And the last thing I'm going to say about that is that you guys need to vote. If you are younger than, let's say, 50 or whatever, and you've never voted before, please go and vote. Register to vote. Plan your vote. Expect to be in long lines. Take you some snacks, some lunch, some Sudoku. Plan your vote, okay? And please go and vote. And it's not necessarily about who is going to be elected president, although it is. And the reason why I'm saying that is because if Donald Trump is reelected, presidents get to pick Supreme Court justices. And he's already been able to put in, I think it was 2 or 3 Supreme Court justices. If he fulfills this 4th one with the passing of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, you guys don't realize, if you're not a political person and you don't understand what the big deal is about that, depending on who gets Ruth Bader Ginsburg's seat, we are literally looking at the rollback of voting rights, of women's rights, equal pay for equal work, disability rights, clean air and clean water. So this is important. And so you really, really, really need to vote. And don't think that your vote does not count. There have been votes, people have won where there have been 200 votes between them. So don't think that your vote doesn't count. And don't believe the hype that voting by mail is full of fraud. That is not true. It is designed, that message is designed to dispirit you and disenfranchise you and make you think that your vote's not going to count. So please contact your local election office, find out what the rules and regulations are, where your polling stations are going to be, and please register to vote. because if you don't vote, you don't have a voice and a say in what could possibly come down the line. And this Supreme Court seat is very, very, very important. Very important. Because whoever gets this seat, whoever selects this particular justice to sit, and those guys are on the court for life. Okay? Life. That means if the person lived to be 102, as long as they can still, think properly and make decisions, they're going to be there. So this is going to change the course and the outcome of American life moving forward. And if you don't think that the powers that be in trying to hang on to power will not roll back things, are going to set us back, if not, decades, but a century in terms of the policies that they're trying to institute, then you are sadly mistaken. You are not seeing this with clear eyes. I don't know about you, but having clean water to drink and clean air to breathe is really important. Being able to vote or have your say, the idea that I should be paid equal pay for equal work, the idea that women's rights, what you decide to do with your own body, is not an important issue. Please, 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 if you have never voted before, this is really the time for you to come and to speak up. So I would urge you to please, if you have not registered to vote, please do so. It's a painless process. It only takes about 5 minutes, and you have 45 days. Typically, it's 30 days before the election. So if you haven't done it yet, get on it, okay? Now, with that, I'm going to get off my soapbox because this is really important. And if you're not scared, you should be. I'm not going to lie to you. If you're not frightened about what is possibly going to happen, you should be very afraid. I am very, very afraid. And I don't scare easily, but I am very afraid of the outcome of this election in more ways than just who's going to be the president. Okay? And I don't have answers. I'm searching my cards. I'm doing things. The Nostradamus deck is telling me a lot, but it's difficult sometimes for me to figure out what exactly that they're saying. And by the way, to keep up with those readings that I'm doing based upon the election and the political, you can follow me on Twitter. You can find my Twitter handle in the About box section of my channel. I'm posting those up, and I'm showing you the dates of which I'm writing these things out and making my predictions. It's a risky thing to do, but I think it's an important thing to do. So with that said, we're going to get started with this open reading. We're going to be using the Santa Muerte deck today. We are going to clarify with La Vida Sibila, and we will pull a Golden Nostradamus card. And these are not the same cards that I'm using to make the predictions based around the political environment. That deck is the Lost Tarot of Nostradamus. These are very, very interesting cards. I just made a prediction on a vaccine the other day, and it appears as though, as it stands now, that my prediction has also been picked up by some of the health experts in terms of the timing on it. Okay? So, interesting times that we're living in. So let me turn the camera around. If the camera shuts off, I'll turn it back on. Oh, last thing, website members, I just finished the elemental water and the elemental fire. I have changed the way that you logged in, and I have moved the video galleries. And I'm going to be sending out a newsletter with the instructions. So just kind of give me a moment, and I'll get that out to you later this afternoon. Okay? So let's turn the camera around and get started. I have already done some shuffling with the cards. I'm going to do a bit more, and then we're going to lay the cards. Okay? And I will be reading to you the meanings of these cards. We just had a new moon. I want to say it was in the sign of Virgo. By the way, happy birthday, all you Virgos. My birthday was, what's today, the 19th? On the 16th. And I didn't do a whole lot. As a matter of fact, I spent all day doing doctor's appointments. But Jessica Adams said that this is a brand new cycle for me in terms of work and health. So it really looks as though I'm going to be able to get all of this stuff done. At least I've gotten the ball rolling, the teeth, the feet, the all of the other stuff. So hopefully next month will be a bit more calmer. Okay. 9 cards down. Here we go. 5 of Pentacles. 9 of Pentacles. And the Knight of Swords. Well, that's interesting. Ace of Swords. Ah, okay. 7 of Swords. And inside of that coffin says the hope and reflection. What I find to be most interesting is this card, I'm doing a reading for somebody and this card showed up and they were like, maybe the person's getting in. No, they're out. You see all of the nails or the swords lying on the ground? They've dug their way out of this and they're sitting down, hope and reflection, looking back from where they've come from. So to me, it speaks to kind of a resurrection, in the very least, a resurrection of thoughts or a new way of thinking, of reflecting back on how I used to think, what I used to believe. The Emperor. The 6 of Pentacles. So far, it's all Pentacles and Swords. Thoughts, perceptions, belief, ideas, communication, the Swords, Pentacles, finances, and the doing of. Okay. The 8 of Swords. And the Page of Wands. So I also have 2 court cards here. A Knight of Swords and a Page of Swords. Pages do bring us news, message, and information, but so do Knights. This is a more, the Knight is a more, I don't know, formulated message. This is the beginning of the message, the start of it. This says that there's a bit more to it than that. It's a little bit more fleshed out. But for me, the Knights always represent an event. It is something that happens. It's some news that comes in that moves the situation along. What is the... We have the King of Wands. Now, I don't know if some of you are dealing with a fire king, Aries, Leo, and or Sagittarius, but we're coming up on Sagittarius weather astrologically. We have the, let's see, I don't know exactly what's going on, but we have this whole thing, the Sagittarius weather that's coming up. I can't think of it off the top of my head. Let me look at my little thing here and see what I can see that's in the sign of Sagittarius that might be of interest to us. Let me go back and view my chart. The South Node, yes. So the South Node has left the sign of Capricorn and has moved back into Sagittarius. Okay. It may have moved forward. The nodes always move backwards, but I can't remember if our last node was, I think it was Leo and Aquarius. I believe that was so. Now we're in Gemini, Sagittarius, the North Node and the South Node. They are at 22 degrees Sagittarius. The North Node is the direction in which you should be going, the forward direction. The South Node is where you've already spent, some time, even a past life. So check your charts, those of you that have it, to find out where 22 degrees of Sagittarius sits in your chart. And you do want to look at your natal chart, your Coke natal, for those of you who've gotten your charts from me. But I have 4 swords. I have 3 pentacles, 2 court cards, and an emperor. And for me, what my guides are telling me is that this 7 of swords is about reflection. It is about looking back over something. rethinking something, and not necessarily rethinking it where you have to, I don't know, maybe we've got a Mercury retrograde coming up. Let me look at that again. No, we don't. And this is all the way out to October. No, Mercury is not in retrograde. He is not even conjunct the moon. The moon is relatively conjunct Mercury. So, um, so this to me is not necessarily about rethinking something. It is literally about looking back over something, and I think getting clear on what your thoughts are. I just get the sense that you've been able to dig yourself out from under whatever your thoughts have been about this particular situation, but it's not over yet. See, we go from the ace to the seven. The ace is an opportunity, right? It's a beginning, it's the start of something. But then we have to look back over this particular opportunity. We've got to think about this opportunity. What did we do? What could we do or have done better? What did we not do? And then from the 7 to the 8, we accrue another sword. And I don't know if you can see this image. That's a skull coming out of the sky, and we see all of these swords against it, right? It's a very powerful image. Now, typically the emperor will represent a strong masculine presence or a strong male who is willing to help you or give you some advice. But the emperor, if you don't have a kind of person like that in your life, this is about you being able to balance both your emotions and your logic so that you can make the best decision. The emperor is the emperor and he's got vast holdings. He's not just a king, he's an emperor. And he didn't accrue all of these things, and he hasn't been able to hang on to them by being overly emotional or overly rational, right? He has to balance his anger with with tactics. You can't just forge ahead and be ruthless and be a tyrant. But he also didn't accrue and have what he has because he was a sap and he gave everything away, right? So this is really about balancing out that emotion. This represents the sign of Aries as well, okay? Again, so we're speaking about this fire sign masculine energy here with this Page of Wands underneath him. I don't know if somebody has had to eat their words, so to speak, or at the very least swallow their words. Okay, but that's also a trick, right? You ever seen the sword eaters? That's some kind of trick I think that they do. I don't know how, but it has to be done very carefully, nevertheless. So, what other changing energies do I see here? I have, that's a 4, a 5, a 6, a 9, a 7, and an 8. Almost sequential. We're missing the 2, we're missing the 3. So we have 1, there's no 2, there's no 3. Here's a 4, a 5, a 6, a 7, an 8, and a 9. Well, isn't that interesting? Okay, so let's read the message. We'll start with the 5 of Pentacles, which says, with calm and through concrete and objective evaluation, you can go ahead, overcoming any crisis that you meet along the way. That's where this energy comes in. And maybe this is the pause before moving forward. Okay? This clock, this card, whenever it pops up, the clock is always telling me something, but I can never quite figure out what it's saying. So I'm going to be looking up the meaning of clocks when they show up, okay? The Nine of Pentacles says, properly evaluate the limits within which you can expand, and you will manage to realize and consolidate even beyond what you can see and touch. Again, this energy. Knight of Swords. Let me see what the swords have to say. Be rational and learn to communicate your ideas clearly and sincerely. Undertake your projects in a way that also brings vitality to others. I don't know. I don't necessarily see the others in this spread. Ace of Swords. Evaluate and choose carefully the direction in which you wish to channel your abundant intellectual and subconscious energies. Remember, that's what I was saying. This is about learning how to balance your emotions and your logic. Interestingly enough, he has an anchor there at the bottom of his throne. Seven of Swords. Look around you and realize that nothing can block your road anymore. Therefore, persevere and concentrate all of your energies without sparing yourself. That's interesting. The Emperor. Do not be afraid of aiming high with your objectives and with those you are materially constructing, even accepting the help of a person who is important and protective. The Emperor card, the camera froze in it. The Emperor says, do not be afraid of aiming high with your objectives and with those you are materially constructing, even accepting the help of a person who is important and protective. And that's what I was saying, is that this is about the idea of the Emperor is basically a leader. The Emperor is someone who can lead and who kind of knows the way to go. And that requires a certain level of fearlessness, right? But if you allow fear to come in to the picture, right, this is where you can make mistakes, right? This is the, what do you call it? The windmills of your mind. He has an anchor there at the bottom of his throne. So I'm going to take a look at that imagery as well. Now this clock, the Six of Pentacles, it says, proceed with audacity and without haste, working hard and keeping yourself focused on the present. What you desire will arrive when the time is right. It says we are in the present, but in front of a precarious equilibrium, an alternation that swings like a pendulum between positive and negative. It could make our physical and economic situation unstable while waiting for a solution and an ulterior evolution. It will be time, fluid, and unilateral, never stopping, that will make the situation evolve and enable us to overcome eventual obstacles. God, this thing is wordy. Proceed with audacity and without haste, working hard and keeping yourself focused on the present. What you desire will arrive when the time is ripe. So this Eight of Swords here. Again, the message is do not be afraid, even if it is necessary to reconsider your ideas, the commitments undertaken, or the choices made, even if they are causing a continual internal storm. This is the quiet before the storm, a balance of opposites, destined to be brief and to explode with violence and thunder. The Eight of Swords, with its stability, risks causing frustration by delaying a conflict that needs to be externalized. Therefore, we need to find the way to rationally bring this to the surface without fearing the necessary transformations. Again, that's what this is. Remember when I said that this it's almost like you're having to eat your words, or you're having to be careful about what you're saying and how you're saying it? Yeah? Page of Wands. And I love this page, and I'm going to show you why I love this page. The way that the page is seated in a swing, wearing a top hat, fancy, 2 earrings. Can you see those earrings? Holding a scroll. The page says, this is the moment to become more independent and to manage your own affairs by yourself. Given that you are more than able, delaying this will only bring about problems. Again, this is about you. It says do not delay with whatever it is that you have planned, because to do so is going to create problems for you. The windmills of your mind. The clock is ticking. That's what this is telling me. King of Wands over the whole spread. Follow the advice of a strong person in whom you trust without fear, and this will be particularly remunerative and rewarding. And underneath that is the 3 of Cups, the start of something. Let me see what this 3 of Cups is saying. Any difficulty whatsoever can be overcome without a problem. Therefore, do not allow fear, yes, to obscure your point of view. The dynamic nature of the number 3 brings the feelings and emotions of triumph, a healing, a resolution, and the consequent celebration for what has occurred. If it degenerates, it can bring with it ambiguity, abuses, or unpredictable circumstances capable of generating confusion and displeasure. Underneath that is a 3 of Wands as well. Let's see. The 3 of Wands. Let me see where the wands are. Hold on. The wands, the 3. In this moment, you do not require the help of anyone. Proceed with energy towards your new creation. So even though, maybe this is saying that even though somebody has offered you some help, perhaps you're supposed to go this alone. Okay? I need to take a look at this clock and see what it's trying to, it's because it's giving me another message. So let me see if I can discover this. There is no clock. There is no sign or CLOC. No. There's no information on the clock. Let's look at the anchor, shall we? The anchor. Anchor. Anteater. Ankle. Animal. See, anchor. Anchor. It holds firm and steady amid the flux of the elements and continues to symbolize the stable part of our being, the quality which enables us to keep a clear mind amid the confusion of sensation and emotion. Isn't that interesting? In this sense, it can also act as a bar or a break, and doubtless with its meaning when it is linked with that symbol of swiftness itself, the dolphin. The anchor was most frequently connected with hope and stands as a support in the troubles of life. It symbolizes the war between the liquid and the solid, the land and the sea. It puts a brake upon life when it becomes too stormy. The conflict must be resolved since land and water together promote fruitful development. From the mystical point of view, the harmonization can never take place in this world. It says the mystics have a saying, "My cross and my anchor," and this is affirming that they will never abandon themselves to the reflux of the natural world, devoid of grace, but anchor themselves to the source of all grace, the cross. But the cross is sometimes viewed as a fork in the road. Okay? It is the symbol in hoodoo culture, it is the symbol of the crossroads. Which means that there are many directions in which you can take, and sometimes the best way to get a lay of the land is to stand in the center of those four corners and then choose your direction. Okay? So what I'm going to do, I just want to look at this emperor to see what the cards are trying to tell me about the emperor. I'm going to look at the clock. And I'm going to look at this Eight of Swords. I do get the sense that this emperor is you. In whatever you're going through at the moment, and you're being asked to, quote unquote, rise to the occasion. It's a four. Fours symbolize stable foundations. It's the square, the most stable of symbols that there is. Equal on all four sides. Okay? And no matter which way it is turned, it will always land in such a way that it maintains its stability. So, let's look at this emperor. The pensiero. The gran consolazione. And the giovane fanciulla, which I find to be quite interesting. The pensiero is just that. It is the act or idea of meditation, of thinking on something, of pondering it. Again, kind of like this card, the Seven of Swords. Okay? The Gran Consolazione is the card about what your dreams and achievements are. You're dreaming of peace and prosperity and finances and contractual issues. We see that this guy is dreaming and thinking of all of these things. And then we have the giovane fanciulla. Now, she is an interesting character. Sometimes she will show up as a person, but there are other times when she will simply just show up like a situation. So let me read it to you. As personal characteristics, it represents a heightened sensitivity. It can also mean somebody with the absorbent aura. In other words, it may be indicating budding psychic ability that needs to be developed. The card does not give advice, but it says that you can have a propensity to be extremely affected by the environment around you. Now, when it shows up as a function of a situation, it can sometimes be pointing to a problem, a danger, an underlying problem that is of specific relevance to you. She's pointing at this here. She's pointing at the page with this finger, and she's pointing behind her at thinking on this grand idea that you have. This holds the key. It says, in financial matters, it points to inexperience and rash mistakes. It can also represent an internship or someone who's just started working, or the trial period in a job or contract. Sometimes in love, it can represent a crush, the first love, someone who is besotted, and a completely irrational romantic attachment. It can also point to anxiety in love and to a particular degree of uncertainty and instability. Okay? There are three key attributes to this card: fragility, vulnerability, and impressionability. Okay? But the Gran Consolazione speaks about all of those things that you dream of, all of those things that you want. And it's asking you to give some deep thought to whatever your plans are. The cards are saying to you, now's the time to make the move. The card speaks to wonderful results and affirmations in all areas about turning your dreams into a reality. It is the card of recognition, fame, a good reputation and prosperity, and light at the end of the tunnel. In love, it heralds a period of success, harmonious relationships, a reconciliation, engagement, or wedding, but it also represents a period of optimism and a positive outlook on life. Financially, it represents money, the various assets and property. It also heralds a period of wealth and prosperity thanks to hard work and not blind luck. It can also stand for one's work environment, in which case the card is neither good nor bad. Okay? So maybe this is a boss, or this is a mentor, somebody who's kind of showing you the ropes, and they're saying to you, now's the time for you to go out and do this thing. Okay? I want to take a look at the clock. That's what I want to look at next. And then I'm going to put the cards down on the Eight of Swords, just to see what the Eight of Swords has to say. So let's take a look at this clock. Again, the message keeps coming across. The time is now. The time is upon you. Okay, the time has come. I don't know if the number 6, which is also a number of balance, means anything to you or not. So maybe the number 6 days, 6 months, 6 weeks. The Vedovo. The Belvedere. And the Stanza. Let me go ahead and pull cards on this Eight of Swords. Now, the Belvedere is a interesting card because it represents someone who, in effect, is still attached to the past. Okay, they are mourning the loss of things past, perhaps even the loss of a loved one, and are now in such a space that they don't have any room in their life for anybody else, or in their heart for anybody else. Okay, but there's also a situational interpretation to this card as well. So hold on one second. Let's see what this Eight of Swords has to tell us. The Riunione. The Donna de Servizio. And the Dottore. There's our King of Wands again. Okay. Now, the Belvedere. I'm sorry, the Vedovo. Let me give you the quick meanings of the Vedovo here. It is a negative card, but it doesn't mean that all hope is lost. The Widower. Basically, it represents sadness, remorse, and regret, intense loneliness and isolation, and predicts a lack of support, affection, or even the inability to open your heart to love again for a considerable time. It describes someone who has suffered intensely and who has been defeated by the hardships of life and lost all joy of living. It indicates difficulty in interacting with people and warns of difficult times ahead, that you will be left out in the cold and there will be no one there to help you, and you will feel utterly alone and helpless, as if someone has pulled the rug out from underneath your feet. Someone that you used to rely on for support will not be there anymore. This is what the bereavement says. Or someone will withdraw their help. Metaphorically, the card indicates a loss of some kind. In love, it heralds separations, arguments, incompatibility, rancor, and resentment towards another person, a relationship devoid of true love and growing apart. In financial matters, it indicates financial collapse or the unsuccessful ending of a project that meant a lot to you. It usually entails making life-changing decisions and breaking away from something or someone. Metaphorically, it indicates estrangement, deprivation, absence, a lack of some kind, and moving away from a situation or a person. Okay? Required by the introspection. The Belvedere. The Belvedere says it heralds the arrival of something or someone, news or an opportunity, in a very short period of time. The depiction is that you are not merely observing something far away, but that something is coming towards you. It says that whatever or whoever is going to be arriving will be indicated by the cards that follow. It's going to be some kind of meeting or conversation. Okay. In love, it can signify the return of a partner or a loved one. But on a much broader level, this card indicates something that has not fully taken shape yet, and the future has not yet been defined. The present moment. The time is near. However, it simply indicates the unavoidable arrival of something or someone. It also indicates anxiety, trepidation, and impatience in all emotions associated with the uncertainty of waiting for something or someone to arrive. Here we see it. The stanza card, which is the Ace of Coins. And the stanza card simply means something, it is connected to opening your heart and telling a secret. It is a card of confessions, classified information, of privacy, and trusting someone with the secret or very sensitive information. If this is about a friendship, it describes two people who know each other very well and can indicate a best friend. The second meaning can represent intimacy and sex, or a clandestine encounter. It is seen the room as an alcove, a place where intimacy is shared in a physical way. Generally, it describes a very important meeting of a sensitive nature. Any meeting that you are emotionally invested in, a job interview, a consultation, a visit to the doctor's office. The oldest meaning is connected to your social life and company, acquaintances, and friends. It is also interpreted as a different kind of room, so it can represent an office, a study, a surgery, a doctor's or that of a politician and meeting with voters, or professional person such as a barrister, a solicitor, a notary, or an architect. It is a very dynamic card because it indicates situations are rapidly evolving and there will soon be a different set of events. It foretells of upcoming news, developments, and possible visitors. If you have been waiting for a response and for news or even a package to arrive, this card says it's on its way. Here it is. And you're worried about that. You're worried about whatever this meeting is. Here we have the riunione. Reconciliations after an argument, truces, and meeting other people halfway in any type of relationship. In love, it can indicate making up after a disagreement, a loved one comes back, and a period of harmony and fulfillment. It indicates or predicts a positive ending to a relationship where disagreement has caused a separation. If this has been a long distance relationship, it means that the partner will now be closer, if not being around more on a consistent basis. Now, it also has two neutral meanings. That of simply an appointment, a reunion, or a date, without any positive or negative connotation. Sometimes it can indicate a rural area, like the meeting takes place in the countryside, a woodland, agriculture, farming, okay? In financial matters, it represents a good solution to a problematic situation. If there's been a lawsuit involved, it predicts problems with the law being averted and a successful outcome with the lawsuit. Here you have the Donna de Servizio, the card of social climbing, okay? And I love to see her because she's the action. She's like the verb. She's the action. She's coming to tell you that help is on the way. And really, that's what it means. It indicates that of help. If there's been a argument or something like that, her handkerchief represents the white flag of peace and truce. Okay. It also means waving goodbye to someone. Okay. Because of the staircase, it depicts that of social climbing, so it indicates career, progress, something changing for the better, and efforts to improve your position. And it refers to a card of great value because she's holding the flowers. Now you have to remember that historically, only rich ladies could afford ladies' maids. Okay? And so the card represents wealth and precious objects, a rich family, luxury, blue blood, and or nobility. Okay? Whatever this thing is you're worried about. But here is the Doctore. As if to say somebody comes in perhaps at the last minute and gives you either says something to you or gives you some information or helps you in such a way that you realize it's now time for you to go out on your own. And this is not a bad thing. It can always be fearful when you feel as though you're walking a path alone, but the truth is you're always alone. You can ask people for their ideas and their support and their whatever what they think, but the bottom line is ultimately when you make a decision, you make that decision based on your own. Okay? The card can represent a doctor, a lawyer, a judge, a civil servant, or any man of professional standing. He is neither good nor bad. But usually the card represents specialist help in order to get out of a sticky situation. Okay? And I don't think you're really in a sticky situation. It says that often this situation defines, the card defines a situation that cannot be resolved, often without professional help and someone who knows what they are doing. It can imply past mistakes that need to be rectified, but this is not always the case. Now, the third meaning is allegorical because it represents something, a type of behavior, a situation, a bad habit, a grudge, a broken heart that needs healing or fixing because it is at the root of your problems or the crisis that you are undergoing at the present moment. Okay? It means help that will be offered by someone who can make a difference in your life, but not before you show a genuine willingness to help yourself. In love, it can indicate a woman who wants to fix her partner, thus this being her driving motivation for being in the relationship. In financial matters, it can indicate success, fulfillment, and in particular career advancement after a period of intense work. As it can represent an investor, a doctor, a scientist, a judge, or a lawyer. It can also represent scientific research and science in general. It takes a long time to become a doctor and to gain that experience. But once you get it, you're always known as a doctor, whether this is a medical doctor or a PhD. So I think what this card is saying that you are worried about this next stage of where it is you're trying to go, but you really shouldn't. And that, if you need to get some advice or someone is encouraging you to go ahead and do it, do that. Okay? I do get the sense that you're having to meet with somebody, and this is a very, very important meeting. Don't be afraid. You have all the skills that you need to go through that. And if you're frightened, you're kind of sabotaging yourself. Don't do it, okay? You really have something to stand on and to anchor you. You really do. So formulate your question for the Golden Nostradamus, and let's see what he has to say. One more rifle. And I think this is just a moment. You know how I always tell you that no matter what you're going through, it's simply a moment. And if you can just get through that particular moment and into the next one, you're going to be okay. But you have to do it with confidence and not allow your fears or your worries or your anxieties to get the better of you. The Fish. And I think this is the last card in the deck, number 25. Now, once you have let gossip fly, these tales can never again be lied. Remember I said you're going to have to watch what you're saying. Okay? Silence will bring counsel and will not expose you to the attacks of others. Stop often and think. Stand still and reflect quietly. It will lead to the discovery of the right path to be taken. See, and look, this guy is saying, the only way is up. In that direction. So, stop and think. Maybe this is about keeping things to yourself, the secrets. This card about the secrets. Maybe you should keep something to yourself. Maybe you should not divulge that. Now is not the time. That's what I have for you. I hope that message helped. And I'll be bringing you perhaps another open reading at the end of this, maybe next week, and then one in the final week until we get into October. Okay, so until next time, namaste.